Good afternoon, today is the 26th day of the trip. Once Sakhalin was half Japanese, and of course now there are Japanese traces. The island used to be called Karafuto, and thanks to the Japanese, we now have a very beautiful building of the regional museum, and we will go there. This beautiful building in the Japanese style Teikan, which means imperial crown, was built in 1937. The museum presents the life and history of the indigenous people of Sakhalin, such as the Ain, Nivkh, as well as various archaeological finds. The museum is large and there is something to see. For example, there are more than 200,000 exhibits here. Thanks to God, I haven't seen these bears in real life. I was told about wolves back in the north of Sakhalin, how they cross the frozen strait from the mainland to the island. In general, the animal world is quite rich, and we can look at the seemingly countless number of exhibits, both aquatic and terrestrial. Here we also find an example of riding used on the islands of the Kuril chain. Exhibits are also displayed outdoors. For example, a small Japanese tank or this oil rig. Museum visitors willingly take pictures with, and of course, Japanese guns of the 20th century. My interaction with the island's railway has finally begun. So now we will leave the station and I will tell you everything. Well, and we'll pass the railway museum too, where we'll go in the future and see everything. The road crosses Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk from north to south. Now it runs several suburban trains a day, as well as one night train. Today I took the train which runs several times a week to Tomari station. These frames show that there used to be more tracks here, but they were dismantled quite recently. The railway owes its development to the Japanese, who got the southern part of the island, up to the 50th parallel, after the Russo-Japanese War in 1905. From Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk to the north, the road began to be built in 1911. We are just driving along this section. The road developed in the west of the island too. In just 3 years, a road was built from Nevelsk, Honto in Japanese, to Tomari, Tomaryoru in Japanese. The gauge, of course, was Japanese, the so-called Cape gauge with a distance between the rails of 1067 mm. Until the Second World War, there was almost no development in the northern Soviet part, with the exception of several attempts in the 30s to build a branch line from Akha to Moskalevo. After the war, however, the island became fully part of the USSR. All names were renamed into Russian, but the road continued to work on the Japanese track and developed successfully. Don't feed me bread, but let me ride trains. Suburban trains, and so on. We are on the main line. Loud joints began outside the city. Gorgeous nature, mountains, hills, lakes, swamps, birches. Everything is cool, as well as burdock. Maintenance of the road is very difficult. In winter the road is often swept up, not taking into account other natural disasters. Sometimes along the way you come across old houses among dense thickets, probably the houses of the railwaymen. At some point the railway goes straight to the ocean, and this is an indescribable feeling, because we are not on the western side of Sakhalin but on the eastern side, which means that it's very far from the coast of the mainland, the edge of the island, the edge of the civilization. Ahead is under the raging ocean, fog and the unknown. The weather has changed dramatically. When we left, the sun was shining, and now clouds are hanging in the area of Tikhaya Bay. At the Arseniyevka station, we are leaving to the west, to the Ilyinsk station. This This section of the road was built in the 70s and connects the west and east of the island. By the way, this is the narrowest point of the island. The distance between the shores is just over 20 kilometers. The railway here stretches like a snake for 32 kilometers, runs parallel to the dirt road and doesn't have a single station on the entire stretch of the way to Yinsk. There are also no settlements, all around nature, nature and nature again. Good morning, 26th day of the travel, no, already the 27th. Damn, I'm already confused, because I only slept 5 hours. I am in the city of Tamari, this is the district center, 3,500 people live here, thanks to Herman for sheltering me for the night, and we are continuing our railway journey. The schedule is crazy, of course. Well, what can you do if you really want to ride along the railway lines, especially since the train runs here only 3 times a week? It's a mess, really a mess. I had to move my plans. Of course, I didn't get enough sleep. The first hour of the journey there was nothing to be seen outside the window, so I slept without remorse to miss the interesting landscape. When I opened my eyes, I was greeted by the Sea of Japan, or rather the Tatar Strait. I'm in a good mood and it seems that the day promises to be good as well. Exactly on schedule, I am arriving in the city of Omsk. The railway passes along the hill and smoothly goes down to sea level. Omsk is an important transfer point of Sakhalin. After all, it's here where the goods sent from the mainland by sea are received. The crossing here is combined. You can load the truck, you can load the freight car, or you can also move as a passenger to the coast of the mainland civilization. We'll talk more about this in future videos. I have arrived in Omsk, namely on the Omsk-Yuzhny platform. Here are the remains of the narrow Gotch legacy. It's great. I've come to town for a reason, right? Let's see what is here and how, but to be honest, I will say right away, there is a little interest in here. Here in 1870, Firsov and company founded the Muka military post. Of course, not right here, they landed 100 meters from here, just behind this house. We've come to the Square of Peace, which offers a view to what? That's right, to the Tatar Strait, and from here we can look at the ferries that go back and forth. Despite the grey and unkempt buildings, there is something in Omsk, some kind of coziness or something. And what a contrast is the embankment. Yes, it's small, but Omsk doesn't need more. Omsk is a small city by Russian standards. More than 27,000 people live here, but by the standards of Sakhalin, it's a big city. There is traffic here thanks to the large, never-freezing port. The locals should say thanks to it, because otherwise, I think, the city would have fallen into decay, and the sad fate would have awaited it. Lighthouses in Omsk are a separate issue. There are 5 of them here, even Japanese ones have been preserved. But we will not be maniacs and will not look at everything, and I will not be a maniac and I will not jump on all the stones and record videos at the same time. Guys, it's always interesting to hear the opinion of local residents, and so I met a kid. What is your name? Mikhail. Mikhail, nice, I'm Vlad. Let's ask Mikhail if he likes Omsk. Well, yes, I like Omsk. It's very beautiful here. There is the sea, fish and everything is there. Friends, business, other things. Do you already have a business? Well, it is, yes. Well, just fact, how old are you? 10 years old? I'm 15. 15? Damn, dude, you look really young. Yeah. Guys, we have a small grown businessman in front of us. Let's applaud him, give him a like. See you at the following locations. And I wish you to travel around the world, around Russia. We will cross paths with you somewhere. Goodbye. Bye. Well, of course, nowhere without Lenin Square. It's here in all cities and not only cities. kinda the most central, the most popular. As you know, the Russo-Japanese War ended in defeat for the Russians, and therefore we had to give the Japanese the southern part of Sakhalin from the 50th parallel to the south. The city of Omsk was then called Maoka in Japanese, and in this very place where I am now, there was a Japanese cemetery. Of course, now it's not here, but there is a memorial sign with hieroglyphs, where I don't know what they mean. And this monument was erected by the Japanese themselves 25 years ago, 1995. Probably it's written here, a house with legs runs to a hut on chicken legs. I think so. After the cemetery, I went to the Omsk sorting station. Unfortunately, it's not technically possible to continue my journey where I left the last time, at the Omsk Yuzhny station. Now I will explain why. The fact is that I have to drive along a historically valuable section of the railway, built in 1928. There are two gauges at this station. The new Russian gauge of 1520 mm and one track with a Japanese gauge, which was saved especially for this passenger train. And only at this station in Omsk you can take a train that will take us along the preserved Japanese heritage. Historically, this road connected Omsk, Maoka in Japanese, and Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk, Toyohara in Japanese, and was 84 kilometers long. Why am I speaking in the past tense? Because only a small section of this road from the side of Omsk has been preserved, only about 8 kilometers. Now this road is only one track on the entire section, without sidings and stations. The traffic here is only passenger. The train goes back and forth in the morning and in the evening. Passengers are mostly summer residents and occasional tourists, just like me. By the way, the fare is very ridiculous, only 15 cents, which is cheaper than any minibus. The rides are subsidized, for which we can say many thanks to the administration of Omsk. After a few houses, we are leaving for the reservoir, which is called Secret. It's so secret that all the maps know about it. You know, it's quite atmospheric here. You sit by the window and there are 50 shades of green around. Trees on the opposite bank, the reservoir itself, and burdocks under the window. In small numbers, people hang out in these waters. The first stop is a platform called Kilometer 79. It, like the following stops, is located in the holiday village Nikolaichuk. Not difficult to guess, the former name was Japanese and sounded like Ikenahata. The village received its modern name in 1946 in honor of Sergeant Boris Nikolaichuk, and here, by the way, is a monument to him. This man fought on these lands for the right to be Russian. The dacha array is stretched along the railway, and the territory of these houses looks well groomed. However, okay, I have already arrived at the final stop. And here is the train leaving, on which I have arrived here. I have arrived at the platform Kilometer 77. The train doesn't go further, and I will tell you everything now. This branch is a Japanese narrow gauge branch, 1067 mm wide, and still preserved. It's now August, but in October they promised to change it to the Russian width standard. And frankly, I don't like it, because the exclusivity and isolation of the Sakhalin railways are being lost. As a railroad fan, I can't let it happen. However, as we promised, this road will be switched and extended a little further, which is also good. Double-edged sword, you know, I would have come here in October to ride a little further. The road passes through such wild, dense thickets that everything beats against the wagons, against the train, and I have a feeling that only such a Japanese narrow gauge railway could pave its way, because with our width around, everything is good to mouth. Do you know what the feeling is? The feeling that I'm in Abkhazia is such a dense vegetable here. Okay, and we are beginning, or rather continuing our railway journey and moving forward over there for a dead end. Let's pretend I'm a train and move on. It's impossible to go straight because the vegetation has become more dense. However, there are no other ways and all tourists follow this path. By the way, the sun is out. It was overcast in the morning and afternoon, but now it's already evening. Bright green colors under the rays of the sun are especially attractive. Those who are at least somehow interested in Sakhalin probably know where I am. I am walking along the railway line that used to connect Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk and Tomsk. It was necessary to somehow connect the west coast and the east. In the end, they chose this route. It was built in the 1920s by Korean prisoners. That is, the Japanese, during their dominance in the southern territories, drove Koreans here to work on allegedly favorable conditions. Of course, this was not profitable, and, as we say, the road was built on bones. How many sleepers are here, so many human lives are left. I have already walked more than a kilometer, and it's interesting that the road was not interrupted by a millimeter. Yeah, it's rusty, yes, it's rough, but it's still intact. That's great. It's quite comfortable to walk, there are a lot of people walking here, and accordingly the path is very well trodden, which allows us to move around this place with relative comfort. I would also like to add that we are now going parallel to the railway, and this means that the height differences here are minimal. This is also important, guys. Now we are going, in fact, between the hills on the edge of one of them. Almost a gorge. Beautiful. I dreamed of being here, and here I am. Beautiful, beautiful. To be honest, it's a little scary, because they told me about bears from everywhere, and they even gave me special equipment. I'll show you later. Unfortunately, the abandoned railroad can't last forever. I've come to a dead end, and here we have 2 in 1. You know, even 3 in 1, look. A dead end. Okay. A tunnel. Cool. Devil's Bridge. Even cooler. I am now torn. Either go into the tunnel, make a loop and climb the bridge, or like a simple casual tourist climb the stairs. You always have to sing, because you know it's better to prevent the appearance of a bear than to fight it later, right? Right. I have just got through a tunnel that is 800 meters long, and in doing so, I went through half of the loop. It was tough. I ascended the tunnel so that it was not scary, even though I have a flashlight, but still it was scary. So guys, these places are very beautiful. It's a shame that they're abandoned and destroyed. Can you imagine how cool it was when everything was well groomed here and there was a railway? Oh, the path is well trodden here. Let's move on. We can't stop for a minute. In certain sections of the trail, you can't even say that there used to be a railway here. As the saying goes, not a trace left. By the way, we have an example of how nature can recover if a person doesn't interfere. I'm singing again. How can you? Wait, it's enough. What? Scary? Okay, no one here. Let's sing something new. In front of us is another tunnel. Nowhere to go, and we must go inside. Scary, of course. Oh, we can see the gap. By the way, very close. I don't know if it will be visible or not, but yes, we can see it. The tunnel smoothly flows into a gallery, not an art gallery, but a road one. Again, the bird dogs are high. You know what's interesting? Sleepers appeared here again. They were not there for a long time, probably about 2 kilometers. Wow! I'm walking on the Devil's Bridge. It's really scary. The height of this structure is 41 meters. 41! The supports are old, rusty, no one takes care of them. Awful Wikipedia says that the bridge is maintained in good condition. Well, that's it, I'll tell you. The length of the bridge is 125 meters. Crap! It's cool that this bridge passes right over the very tunnel we went into. The very first one. From here you have a great view of the road, along which we also walk below. I can't accelerate much, I'm afraid to go, the sleepers are all rotten. The rails are rusty. The metal structure is also rusty. Of course, all this is great, but dangerous, dangerous. If you're afraid, it's better not to go here. It's written that the Petya was here. Really dumb. You know, I calmed down a bit, because I remember that the bridge is Japanese. And the Japanese are the guys that do everything with high quality. Let it wobble. But it's strong. I think it will last another 10 years. In fact, it's scary, of course. Hate inspires fear. It's not worth it that for these 1,200 meters where the loop was, we climbed 40 meters. There was climb, but we didn't feel it. You know, I read reviews on the internet of people who rode the train here. They said that already in the 80s, when the last trains were running here, the speed was so slow, so limited, and the bridge was literally shaken. By the way, that's why they closed this branch, because it was expensive to maintain and the profitability was low, so eventually the government of USSR closed traffic on this section and then everything was dismantled. Well, not all, but most of it. Here I'm only looking at my feet, I can't look at the camera at all. As they say, mind your step. Guys, there is another bridge nearby. Of course, we cannot leave it unattended. We are walking along the path parallel to the railroad, which is already in the thickets, even trees grow. It's generally a mess. Thanks to the people that at least the path is kept in a passable state. This is also very good. Go! Железка родимая. So, the last rails. When they end, they are dismantled. And here is the Witch's Bridge. You know, to be honest, it's even worse and I don't want to cross it to the other side at all. But maybe I'll make up my mind now and still go there. Let me think. Guys, I walked literally 10 meters and then I don't have enough courage. The hell knows what is wrong with this structure. Whether it's stable or not, the sleepers are falling through, really rotten. Who knows what is wrong with this armature? You can see the tunnel in distance. If I had no other choice, I would of course go further, but I have a choice, and the choice to go back. I'll probably do this. More precisely, I'll do it without, probably. Enough extreme for today. I will come back. I have already seen a lot of good places today. I need to stop in time. I think now is the time to stop. Now I've decided to show you my means of protection. Well, not mine, but which the good man Sergei gave me. See, flare. They say that bears are afraid of it like fire, in the literal sense, because this is fire. That just is the first thing, that's not all, because they quietly gave me a grenade around the corner. I'm afraid to pull the ring. Otherwise it will be scary here. A small grenade, but still I don't want to experience it all myself. I am putting it away from scene. I hope that I will not need any of this. By the way, exactly 2 months ago, a bear killed an old woman. It's a shame. Moreover, the whole village rushed to save her and couldn't. It's a shame. It was the beginning of summer and most likely the bear was hungry even after hibernation. Now the end of summer and he probably ate. But on the other hand, they say that now there are few fish and the bear is very hungry. To be honest, initially I planned to cross the second bridge and walk to the village of Chaplanovo, and from there hitchhike to Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk. After talking with the locals and talking about my plans, they told me that it's better not to do this. Firstly, the bridge is in disrepair. Secondly, there are bears all around. And thirdly, it's getting late at night and there is nothing to do here at all. I half abandoned my idea, deciding to look at the bridge myself and evaluate whether it was possible to pass through it or not. Having made a negative decision, I returned to Nikolaichuk.